Hello, I am Yellow Polo Giarrusso. And that's easy to remember because it all ends with O's. My interests are motivational speaking and paranormal lecturing. Today, I'm going to run my mouth about something I don't know about. Let's go. You might ask yourself, Anthony, why would you run your mouth about something you have not experienced? Well, I just feel like it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to allow other individuals to suppress my freedom of speech. I have never had a Sasquatch or Bigfoot encounter. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. A lot of people have seen, allegedly, a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot creature. And there's a little bit of a problem because I've seen a lot of documentaries and even on the news, I've seen news clips where they talk about the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. And there's almost like this propaganda going on where the person who has seen or experienced a Sasquatch believes that only 10% of people are telling the truth. And I actually disagree. I would probably say, from what I've heard and what I've experienced from listening to people who have had Bigfoot and Sasquatch encounters, I would actually say 6 out of 10. So it's like 60% of people are actually telling the truth. That's how I feel, which is a lot more than just 10%. And the propaganda, I believe, is that they're trying to make the Bigfoot community feel smaller than it really is. And there's a lot of people who have had those experiences. Just like I have had ghost sightings and UFO encounters. I've been researching Bigfoot and Sasquatch probably since around 2017. I have not done a lot of research. I've never gone out to go look for one. But I have done research on the computer and listening to podcasts and things, and occasionally coming across people who have had an encounter. I think one of the biggest problems is a lot of people believe that Bigfoot can only be a living, breathing creature. That's problem number one. And the other problem is a lot of people believe that it can only be an ape-like creature. Okay, so that's two problems there. I do see that with the Bigfoot community. And that's kind of disappointing. I've heard lots of stories of people who have allegedly found forensic material of hair or teeth or alleged fingernail chips of these creatures that have allegedly also been to different colleges and universities for testing. I've also heard that allegedly a lot of these people who do send these samples in for testing come from forensic analyst backgrounds. So there's quite a lot of allegements, but if all these allegements are true, and if the allegement that most of these samples are coming back as human, and these people who allegedly have the forensic backgrounds know not to contaminate the evidence, makes me wonder if all the Sasquatch creatures are in fact wild humans, not apes. I've also experienced ghosts of humans, dogs, birds, and even inanimate objects. And that doesn't make any sense. How can you have a ghost inanimate object? I don't know, but I did experience it. Which makes me believe that some of these Bigfoot encounters, I believe people are having ghost Bigfoot or ghost Sasquatch encounters. And that's why some of them seem to just vanish so quickly. So the human part, right? The wild humans, right? If you killed a human, you would be charged for homicide. Okay? Now, what if it's an unidentified human that you've killed? Well, they can't identify it. Could be an illegal immigrant, right? And they can't really charge you because they don't know what exactly happened, right? Especially if they don't know, or the people investigating don't know that you've killed a human. Or maybe they do know that there's a dead human, but they may not know who killed them. And that's what's really interesting. Now let's say you have an unidentified human who has hair all across its face and its body, and it's a wild human, and you killed that human. This is where I believe the conspiracy with police and the government comes in, because normal people like you and me might be killing wild humans that are a different species of human. And I believe that because they're unidentifiable with these strange, very hairy-like appearances to them, that I believe that this is where this corruption's coming from, is that people are shooting these humans with hair on them, and because they're unidentifiable, the police or whoever investigates covers it up because they're not our species, but they are human. I believe that's also why the samples from universities and colleges are coming back as human, because they are just a different breed or a different species. You are looking at a map, and I just want to kind of briefly show you where the majority of these sightings of these wild, hairy man, human curiosities are most commonly seen. Now, even though these places are where they are most commonly seen, I just want you to know up front that that doesn't mean that they only live in these locations. They could be living in other locations. And the reason that there could be so few stories in certain areas, I believe it to be that, some parts of the United States of America, people don't like to talk that much about their sightings, so there could be that discrepancy as well. Okay, so first up, the Western Sasquatch, which is mostly common so that's Cascade and Sierra. And I call this the Western Sasquatch. What's interesting is Washington State has the most amount of Bigfoot sightings. However, Oregon actually has a very few amount of sightings. But what's unique about the sightings in Oregon is that Oregon has the most amount of group sightings, meaning 2 or more people saw the same Bigfoot creature. So that's pretty interesting. California has a lot, and I just think that's because they have a huge population. Now, what's really odd is right around here and the Rocky Mountains, there are alleged Bigfoot sightings, but they're very spotty and there's not that many, and I don't understand why, other than maybe there are those sightings and they're just not being reported in that particular area because maybe they're just a more quiet type of American citizen. That's my guess. Then we have what we call, I've highlighted where Mount St. Helens is because allegedly around the Mount St. Helens area and the nearby mountains in that general area are very high for aggressive encounters with Sasquatch or wild hairy man type entities. And this is where I also found on Google Maps what I call the face of the Western Sasquatch, which is here. Very strange. You got mouth, eyes, the nose. Okay, and you see right here, it kind of has the same face of that Western Sasquatch. Look at that, huh? Right there on the mountain range. Maybe that's the land of the Western Sasquatch. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But allegedly, there are more sightings in the forested area than this general area. But you never know. Maybe that's their secret lair or something. There could be hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions of them there that nobody's discovered yet. So go check it out one day. Now, the other most common Bigfoot is what I call the Eastern Bigfoot. And it's kind of interesting because most of these Eastern sightings literally follow this kind of pattern where it's kind of indented in. So where you see this green, that's mostly forest. But what's so fascinating is this is where the majority of these Eastern Bigfoot-like entities, or tall humanoid hairy creatures, literally from Montana, this corner of Montana, all the way to Maine, all the way down to Florida, all the way down to Texas, and it's this big, huge, giant area literally filled with these Sasquatch Bigfoot sightings, which is very unusual. Then you come in a lot closer, and I want to talk about this thing that I call the Southern Sasquatch and also the Skunk Ape, which are both what I believe to be two different wild human species. Okay? The Southern Sasquatch is mostly found from Louisiana all the way to Florida and up to North Carolina. And pretty much across here as well. These states here. And what's so interesting is that people believe that it's a reddish oranged hair, almost like an Irishman's hair in theory, you know, that bright orange or reddish colored hair, on a ape man like creature, or what I believe is just a hairy human, wild hairy human, that smells relatively bad. I've heard a lot. And apparently their smell smells a lot like seafood restaurant grease, where it's kind of like a mixture of rotting fish and grease. Apparently that's what they smell like. And they're about 5 feet tall, relatively muscular for their size, and live mostly from Louisiana to North Carolina and down here. So, and then you have the Skunk Ape, which people get confused with the Southern Sasquatch. The Skunk Ape is pretty much found from the southeastern counties of Georgia, like right around here, north of Jacksonville, but in the Georgia area. And then pretty much all the way down to the Florida Everglades, kind of missing the panhandle. So it's mostly like East Coast Florida, Central Florida, West Coast Florida, excluding the Panhandle and then southeastern Georgia, where there's allegedly another humanoid, human-type creature with black hair, with a white stripe of hair from its forehead going over the back of its head, down its neck, all the way down to where its tailbone area would be. And that's why they call it the skunk ape, because of the black hair and the white hair coloration. Not because it smells like a skunk, but because it has the fur like a skunk. Okay? Or the hair like a skunk. I just wanted to make sure that people understood that. So, very small range. Again, up to about 5 feet in height. But not very muscular. The muscular one is the southern Sasquatch, which has that reddish-orange hair, which is found pretty much a much larger range. And the eastern Sasquatch comes all the way around, because regular Sasquatch sightings have happened right here in Florida. So that's pretty interesting. All right. Thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm Yellow Polo Giarrusso. Have a wonderful day.